The Real Estate Photography Podcast is brought to you by tourbuzz.net, high-definition virtual tour and photograph hosting, now with interactive floor plans. Sign up for your free trial today. Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Photography Podcast with Mike Muriello. Today we have a guest critique, Carrick Long. Carrick is brand new to real estate photography. He has photographed his first house, and he has volunteered himself up to the podcast. He wants to show off what he has done, critique his own work, go through the process, and share with everybody. Hi, Carrick. How's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
I cannot complain. So I'm just going to get right into it. We're going to start with photo number one and walk us through. Tell us all about the process and everything.
Okay. Well, I arrived on scene at an open house and asked the realtor if she would mind if I photographed the house, and she called the owner, and they both said it would be great. So I got out my camera, my 4 flashes, and started photographing things. And right away I found out that it was going to be harder than it looked in the books and the websites. I got into this composition here because I thought it would show the open floor plan really well with the stairs going down and all the rooms connected. And I realized I don't have enough light to light this. I have 4 Lumo Pro LP160s, and that was not nearly enough to light all this. So I ended up taking a bracketed exposure of this composition and merging them in Photomatix Pro. But I did forget to remove my spider checker, as you can see there on the counter. Which is, I tried photoshopping that out, but I just couldn't get it to look right.
It's okay.
Overall, I think this composition's pretty nice. It shows the floor plan. It leads you out in from the foyer, and you can see yourself walking through the kitchen or the dining room or going downstairs or out to the back patio. So I think compositionally this is one of my stronger ones. If it wasn't for the fact that I left that spider checker in there and couldn't get it lit, I almost feel bad when I have to do fusion after failing to light something rather than choosing to do it from the first off.
I see what you mean. I did want to jump in and say I like the composition as well. I think that this sort of composition doesn't get enough attention because it's usually not one that we would show off in a portfolio or something, because it shows a bunch of different subjects, such as the kitchen, the couches, the dining room area back there. But that's really important in real estate photography, being able to see the layout and how the pieces of the rooms fit together. So I like that you thought of that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's something of I think that is going to be one of my strengths, is being able to show how a house feels, because I worked with a realtor as a clerical assistant over the summer, and I had to write some of the descriptions, and I took some preliminary photographs with a point and shoot before I ever studied into real estate photography, and I realized right away that showing the feel of an entire house rather than the look of a room was pretty important.
Mm-hmm. Well, take us on next photo if you would like, or do you have some more stuff you want to talk about this one?
No, the next one will grow.
All right.
So this is the shot of just the living room, and I'm using the classic over-the-couch composition that looks like, you're standing there. If people were there, you'd be chatting with the people in the room. Mm-hmm. This is lit with a strobe bounced off the wall to the camera left, a strobe and a shoot-through umbrella, camera right, powered down. And they were both pretty high power because the sun was really streaming in through those blinds. It's still blown out, but it's not. I don't think I've lost any detail.
Right. I'm not distracted by it either.
Okay. The one major flaw that I noticed when I got back home was that you can see the umbrella reflecting in the clock pendulum area.
Yeah.
But hopefully not too many people will notice that.
I don't think so. Let's compare it to the spider, the color checker.
Yeah, definitely less noticeable.
I was going to say that I liked your choice of. This sounds really nerdy, but your focal length. I like how you're zoomed in. I like how you're cropped in. You know, it's not. It feels a little bit more intimate of a shot than a really wide shot.
I do prefer to shoot more zoomed in because I studied commercial photography in my university, and we shot 80 millimeter, 100 millimeter for portraits all the time. Mm-hmm. So shooting this wide is a bit strange to me, and luckily in this house I had room to take it all the way to the 20 millimeters on my crop factor, which is something along the lines of 36 millimeters, 35 millimeter full frame equivalent. So I was able to back up and zoom in and really get that intimate feel.
Yeah.
It was definitely difficult though to get the colors just right because I learned that bouncing off of cream colored walls can give you some odd color casts. That's why I brought in the shoot through to kind of even things out color wise.
Yep, I definitely understand what you're saying.
But yeah, what do you think of the photo?
I like it. I absolutely like it. But here again, I just want to hear your opinion on everything. I want you to tell a story about every shot that you've done. But I definitely like it.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think we can move on to the next one then.
Sure.
This was the kitchen of the room, and this is probably my weakest shot from the entire house. I feel like, and it may be due to the layout of the kitchen, but that's just me shifting blame. I think that it's the fact that I couldn't really find a composition to show the entire space like I did from the other angle from the kitchen. From this shot, you don't see the entryway into the dining room. The living room looks a little darker, even though I did flash that room. It didn't turn out as bright as I'd hoped. And when trying to combat that direct sunlight streaming in from those windows at something like 2 p.m., I didn't have enough power to do things without casting some shadows. So you can see a couple of the shadows from the foliage up on the roof or the ceiling there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a problem or if it adds interest, but it's definitely there.
Yeah, you're not alone though. I mean, kitchens that have the jut out, I always call it the L or it's like a J kind of. It does get a little bit, because that dishwasher area that's intruding on the rest of the room. I mean, that's how I always feel about them. It's in my way.
It felt like that walking around too.
Yes, yeah. And I'm sure if you're preparing something in the kitchen, it might help you. But when you're walking from one room to the other, or you're attempting to show the entire room, if you calculate, I've said this before, I'm always a percentage guy. It's weird like this, but calculate the percentage of the view of the rest of the room of the dining area. Well, it's like a breakfast nook area that's blocked because of that. So you're fighting an uphill battle on this one. I wouldn't beat yourself up too much.
Okay. And then the last thing I found that was a big problem with this image, which I couldn't control at all, was that because they were having an open house, all of the marketing materials for the house and the realtor were right there on that table. But other than that, I think I managed to light it pretty well with a few strobes in each area, one bouncing off the door to the right, one you can tell from the shadow was shooting into the dining room area from the right, and a couple in the living room.
Yeah, I think so too.
And for the dining room, I, again, ran into some issues with the bright sunlight and the huge windows, and the fact that there's absolutely nowhere to bounce or hide a strobe in this room, especially without it showing in the mirror of the back of that china cabinet.
Yeah.
So I ended up fusing this again, three exposures fused in Photomatix Pro. But getting the composition right was a little difficult.
I was going to say two things. Number one, I like the composition. Do you not like it, or how do you feel about it?
I do like it. It just took me a good 10 to 15 minutes of walking around the room, putting my tripod down, adjusting it, going to a different corner, and trying to figure things out to get the room really looking like this.
Right. And and I was going to say, I also, I'm going to back up for a second in my own photos. Yeah, I was just looking at you. This one feels different when it comes to lighting. The shadows are a little bit different. The tone is a little bit different. I think it goes back to one of your first photos, and I think you gave it away too. This is fused exposure, so the feel of the image is going to look much more like an exposure fusion image as opposed to a lit image.
Yeah, I mean, I try and do as little processed look as I can, but it's always unavoidable. You can tell when it's exposure fused versus when it's lit with flash.
Right.
But I think the composition of this one is just very strong for the room it is.
Yes.
I managed to get the entire huge window in there. I managed to make the decor of the room look really good, I think. The only thing is that maybe I would have changed was to shot maybe 6 or 12 inches lower, because I am showing a lot of the table, but that might have cut off some of the window. So I don't know if I had really much margin of error there.
Yeah, that's a good question, because if you go a little bit lower, now that table is going to be above the sill of that window. And I'm curious to see what that would be like, what it wouldn't be like. Yeah, my imagination is starting to wander, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Cool. In fact, this one and that living room shot are two that I printed on my business cards and marketing materials since I needed some to market myself, and this was my first shoot. I picked the two best, and this is one of them.
Great. Excellent. Excellent business.
Okay, moving on to the master suite. I use the lighting setup that Scott Hargis recommends in his book, Lighting Interiors with Small Flash, as the default for any kind of bedroom, which is simply a flash balanced on the door and another one bouncing off one of the walls. And first time I tried balancing that flash on the door, I bet you can guess what happened.
Did it fall?
Yes, I was moving around, I bumped into the door, and boom, crash.
Was
Flash
it okay?
fell. The flash was fine.
Okay.
But the radio trigger I had plugged into it, I couldn't find it for a good 5 minutes. It had jettisoned off and gone all the way under the bed.
Yeah. Oh boy.
But once I got that resolved, I put a flash also in the bathroom, gelled 1/4 orange to kind of give it a different look, so that you definitely had room separation there.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up closing that closet door because there was awful fluorescent light in there, and the closet was full of clothes, and I felt that it would look better with the closet closed, implying that there is something there, than actually showing a bit of the clutterness that was there.
Yep, I agree. Avoid all distractions whenever you can.
This one was a bit harder for me to compose because I wanted to show the entire room, but there was a big old CRT TV to my right, so I couldn't show the entire bathroom door, and I couldn't show the entire chair on the left because I had my second strobe bouncing from that side, I believe. So I'm not sure if I maybe had it wide enough or not. But that's definitely one of my things that if I were to go back and shoot this, I'd probably shoot a little wider and see if it looked better or not. And the master bathroom is the same one you saw a hint of in the previous shot, and it was definitely a fun shot because I got to put one of my tripod legs into the tub that you see in the mirror there, and I had the other two, one of them sitting on a carpet, one of them sitting on the tile, so I had to spend plenty of time getting my camera level. And I took a few angles of this room, but every single angle but this one required a lot of Photoshop work to get my camera out of the shot.
Oh. And I think you said it before. You want to avoid as much post-production as necessary, whether it's exposure fusion or whatnot. But I try and always not get myself in the mirrors because I just know how long it takes to get it out.
Yeah, it takes longer to deliver to the clients if you have to post-process. It takes more time out of your day, and in reality, if you can fix it in 10 minutes by just moving where you are and recomposing versus fixing it in half an hour on the computer, you're probably going to be better off 90% of the time just fixing it on the scene, getting it right in camera.
Yep.
So I lit this with a strobe bounced on camera left, and then I had that same strobe I had gelled orange sitting inside of the toilet room. And I was hesitant whether to show the toilet or not, but I thought it would look a little strange if you just had a room there. So I just showed the very edge of the toilet bowl so they would know that that's a separate room for the toilet.
Nope. Good thought process. Yeah.
Thank you. And I also thought, if I'm only able to show one side of this room at once, because it is relatively small, being a bathroom, why not take advantage of the mirrors that were giving me a hard time earlier and use that to show the luxurious tub there?
Yes.
So I think a lot of thought went into the composition of this, and not as much into the lighting, but definitely into how to compose it to show the entire room without going really wide.
Well, I like it. I like the composition. I also like the thought process. Just like you said, with that room back there with the toilet and showing the tub, I mean, that's what agents are looking for too. It's that thought process that goes into, bathrooms aren't just about sinks. And most people don't understand that. It's about each component that goes into it, and cramming them into one shot can be a challenge. So, well
Definitely.
done. Well done.
Thank you. And then the last shot that I brought into this was the office here, and it was painted a bright, vivid blue. Every room of this house had a different color scheme. The living room had the fan blades, the curtains, and everything painted purple, and this one was blue and brown. It's definitely interesting, but I like it. The curtains on the window there helped with the lighting a lot. They diffused the light through the entire room, and they darkened it enough that my flashes didn't have to be full blast. So I was able to take this with 2 two simple flashes at low power from different angles, just kind of adding some pop and dimensionality to the room.
Yeah.
But on the left of this office was a cluttered desk with a Pentium 3 computer on top of it. And I thought I better not show that, even though I could get more of the room and it would look bigger with it in there. I think that aesthetically it just looks better if I don't show the 15-year-old computer, considering that it looks like a dinosaur, doesn't match with the color scheme.
Right.
It was a bit of a mess.
It's another one of those distractions you're avoiding.
Yeah, I'm trying to show the room without showing the lives of the people living in it, so that people can imagine their own lives in there when they're home shopping.
Another great point.
So I really like this one just because of the colors, and so I still have it on the front page of my website. It maybe isn't the strongest or most interesting image, but I think it's definitely fits more with my style, with the clean lighting and the simple compositions, and showing a room for what it truly is.
Yeah.
And this time I remember to take the spider checker out of there. But I do recommend that anybody who's shooting homes that tend to be painted colors get a spider checker or an X-Rite passport, or even just a simple $5 18% gray card, because it really does help balancing and showing the true colors in a room, especially like this, where the only thing to balance off of would be that white picture frame, and as we all know, most mattings and frames aren't true white.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, as long as you remember to take it out of the shot, it's a great tool. But yeah, that was my first shoot.
Impressive. Carrick, very, very impressive. Ironically, today I was just cleaning out one of my bags, and I found some of my original marketing materials when I was getting started, and well, let's just say I put it at the bottom of the pile. I don't want to look at it anymore. Your work is remarkably better than mine when I was beginning. So,
Thank you.
my best of luck to you. It's great, and I'm really glad that you could be here to share your experience with the whole community.
Me too. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Anytime. Well, thank you very much, Carrick. Have a good one.
You too.